something in me told me that this is going to be a great company, right? That it's a company with a purpose, with a mission, that we could make a difference, that we could be great one day, and that kept us going. That drive kept us going, that vision kept us going. And we said three things that we will see in years to come: that we will see our staff across the John Keels Group, we will see our centers across Sri Lanka, and we will see our clients across the world.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome for everyone tuning in to the second episode of the Infomate podcast. In the first episode of the Infomate podcast, we looked at the importance of the IT BPO sector towards the economy of Sri Lanka. In this episode, we are going to take a deep dive into the origin story of Infomate, and who better to take us through the origin story than the CEO of the company, Jehan Perinpanayagam. Thank you, Jehan, once again for joining us here. And Jehan, why don't we straight away jump into it and take us through the origin story of Infomate?
So John Keels Group, always a pioneer, implemented SAP. It was one of the biggest implementations at that time in the region in 2004. And thereafter they had the idea of setting up the first ever shared services center in Sri Lanka in order to get the best out of the ERP investment. There was a lot of research that shows that the best way for a large diversified group to bring about centralized controls, governance, and SAP best practices was through a centralized shared services center. So it was a pioneering venture at that time. And the reason that I was selected was because they were looking for someone who was an accountant, who knew SAP and who knew BPO shared services. I didn't know BPO and shared services, but I had the other two. So I was selected. We had to learn everything from scratch. We didn't have anyone to really compare with. But we visited some international shared services, including SAP's own shared service in Singapore. We also saw some BPO centers in India, and we had to build all our processes ground up. So it was tough early days for the 60 people who constituted Infomate at that time. We were known more as the shared services or SSC, and we didn't start using our legal entity till a few years later. So our goal was to bring about cost efficiencies, to bring about governance, to bring about ERP best practices, bring about standardization for the entire JKH group. We had some tough learnings. There were concerns that we were too costly, charge outs, that there were mistakes, that we were sometimes not meeting our SLAs. But that feedback really helped us to refine, to improve, and ultimately to build some world-class processes. We did it with some consulting assistance from then Astron, now today they are known as R.R. Donnelly. We brought in a consultant from Wipro, ex-Wipro executive, to also help us. And we built some super processes, including our quality control processes, management information systems, which I think are the best today in Sri Lanka. We measure every aspect of BPO performance, from quality to turnaround time, average handle time per transaction. We built some world-class systems like BPO Mate, our document management system, which is proprietary to us. The country's first supplier portal, Supplier Mate, and we were able to bring about stability, cost efficiencies to the JKH group. In 2007, we introduced payroll services to our FNA, or Finance and Accounting Services. And then we started for the first time offering our services outside the John Keels Group. So our first customer was the MAS Group. We were doing payroll for them. We expanded there primarily with payroll. And then we got our first overseas client, which was a Norwegian account. It was a company called Vega Partners. We still maintain very, very good relations with them. And they gave us the start. We had to process invoices and bank statements and journal entries in Norwegian, working on their system hosted in Norway, which was called Visma. And from that we grew. We expanded to other clients overseas, and today we are among the top 6 BPO exporters in the country. We serve some very, very big, internationally renowned brand names. From 60, we've grown to 400 people, and we've done some truly unique projects which are case studies today in the industry.
So Jehan, You are obviously being very honest when saying that as a startup, there is a learning phase, and that learning phase can be sometimes quite painful. Have there been times when you've considered this to be too painful, or what kept you going during those tough times? When not necessarily making a lot of money.
No, absolutely. So you don't really have a great bottom line. You've got pressure on your, from your leadership that you're not really meeting the numbers, from your clients, and then it finally trickles down to your staff. They are under pressure. Sometimes a lot of complaints, a lack of appreciation. So all of these challenges are there. But if you look at all the great companies, they have faced it, they've overcome it, and they faced it with a smile. So as you said, I spoke to some of my colleagues in the shared services industry. Few more shared services started after us. And speaking to some of them, the first thing one of them said is, it's a thankless job. That was the first thing that came to him. And that's how we felt, but we were determined. Something in me told me that this is going to be a great company, that it's a company with a purpose, with a mission, that we could make a difference, that we could be great one day, and that kept us going. That drive kept us going, that vision kept us going. And we said 3 things that we will see in years to come, that we will see our staff across the John Keells Group, we will see our centers across Sri Lanka, and we will see our clients across the world. So that was a nice sort of vision statement that we articulated when we didn't see any of that. And today, if you look 18 years on, we have achieved a lot of that. Today, you see across the JKH group, you have our alumni holding key positions in finance. If you look at the SAP support team, a lot of them are from Infomate. We have centers today from North to South Sinigama to Western Province, North Central, hopefully very soon in the East. And we really have clients around the world. So I think that vision, the belief that kept us going, and the team, we had some great people who worked with us, who went through the bad times and the good times and came out fighting and never gave up. And so we had a great nucleus to work with. We have 6 of that original 60 still with us.
Really?
And from the top, I think we had a lot of support from the John Keells board and leadership, right? They backed us through the difficult times, and both my former bosses as well as my current bosses, they continue to support and encourage us and believe in the concept.
The prophecy has indeed come true, because several years later, you're 400 strong, the 6th largest player in the field, and one of the highest export earners in the country. Speaking of export earning, Jehan, you said that your first client was a Norwegian client. What was that process like? How did you all manage to earn their trust as a relatively new company?
Absolutely. That was something that we were thinking about a lot, and we still think about how to do international marketing. Now, that's not an easy area, and I think a lot of us sitting here in Sri Lanka, we have not really worked that out, and we have not really mastered that. So that time what we did is we joined the various chamber subcommittees, and this was through a program initiated by the Norwegian government called the NORAD program to help developing countries through matchmaking, business matchmaking. It was a great program. So they brought in multiple Norwegian companies, and this particular company was looking for a finance and accounting outsourcing provider. And what they did was this program matched them with 20 potential players.
Okay.
So they had an initial speed dating, spoke to several of them, and thereafter they shortlisted maybe 5 or 6. And their CEO, I asked him later, why did you pick us from the 5? So he told a couple of things. He said once when he was in Norway, he was driving at the time that I had called him apparently. And he said, I just felt that these guys want it that much more. Number 2 is when we did the final presentation to them, that there was a strong team. We had about 17 people in that boardroom when we presented to them. And he said we were very well prepared, and that he felt that it was a strong team. It was not just one person, it was a team. So that gave them confidence. Also, we took the extra measure. We brought in one of my colleagues from John Keells IT who had actually been in Norway. So he had spoken or spoke rudiments of the language. We looked at translation software. We looked at some tools. So all of this preparation really helped us, and they started working with us. Thereafter, in terms of client acquisition, we did our website, we did our SEO, search engine optimization, we did our online content. There's a lot more that we can do in that space, but we've done quite well so far. We also established the international partnerships, and then we did the usual exhibitions and visits. But that's an area that we are still looking at, because I think we can still improve significantly when it comes to international marketing.
Jehan, you were telling us how when you got your first international client, it was a Norwegian client, and on top of learning the jurisdiction, it was a completely new jurisdiction, you had to learn the laws and regulations. On top of that, you had to serve them in Norwegian. So I'm pretty sure this was a Herculean task, because you are a relatively new company with not that much international experience. So how was this process like? Was it daunting? How did you all manage to serve them and then now become this behemoth that you all are?
I think it really helped that we had a very collaborative, very friendly, very supportive client, and they backed us right from day one and gave us all the support and encouragement that we needed. Also approaching it as a project. So what we did is we put down a project plan, listed all of the activities, and some of the activities included Norwegian cultural familiarization. We brought down a Sri Lankan expat who has lived and worked in Norway for many years, and he told us some aspects of business in Norwegian. So some of the things that he highlighted, I still remember. He said the importance of time. He said never get late, never compromise on time. Also be straightforward in how, if there's a problem, be open about it. So that was some of the feedback he shared. We also studied the Norwegian Data Protection Act, and we educated our staff, what is personal data, how do you treat personal data. Then we did a glossary of terms. So each of these activities is not Herculean in its own, but you need to put it down and also monitor the execution. So I would say it's a combination of planning, of project monitoring, of open communication. One of the things that took a little time is to finalize the agreement, because they had different jurisdictions, different proposals. It was the first time, as you said, of doing an international agreement of this scale. But with open, honest communication, we were able to thrash it out. And that really gave us confidence that we were ready to serve the world.
The key lesson that I am learning as a young business person or a professional is that when you look at a mountain, instead of just staring at the mountain and panicking, you'd rather break it into phases.
Absolutely.
I think that's what you said in a different language. So Jehan, why don't we talk a bit about the team now? Because you all started with a relatively small workforce, and now you're a 400-man team, which is a pretty big number for a Sri Lankan company. First of all, can we maybe take us through your process of identifying great talent and then recruiting them? What was your process?
So we have several initiatives. One is we have something called the Finance Apprentice Program, which is a unique program which was built around some of the audit programs, for instance. They have done it successfully for many years, where they have a 4-year training. So we replicated that for the corporate, and that was a brainchild of our former finance director, Ronnie Piris. So we created a 3-year program, which is a structured program which would give technical, soft skills, mentoring, and the vision was to attract and groom the best accountants. So that was a program that we created to create a pipeline of talent for Infomate. We also signed several MOUs with educational bodies, with universities, with accounting schools. Today we are one of the few we are SEMA training partner. We are an ACCA approved employer. We've just signed up to stage 3 of CA Sri Lanka. So we are an authorized training partner of CA Sri Lanka, and we signed an MOU with CMA Sri Lanka. So we signed MOUs with all the leading accounting bodies, with universities. So that gives us access to some of the best talent. Then there is branding, right? So I think the fact that we are a JKH subsidiary helps us. And we've done a lot of our own branding as well as Infomate. Infomate was not very well known some years ago, but I think with a lot of the interventions, a lot of the articles that we have done, we are much better known. So Infomate Private Limited, do please go and check us up on social media. check our website www.informateworld.com. And in terms of, we have a good HR team, we have people dedicated on hiring. So multiple streams of advertising for positions. These include Top Jobs, LinkedIn, and thereafter it's a process of interviewing, where required, conducting the tests, the reference checks, and hiring the best. So there is also an element that everyone may not be 100% job ready on day one. So we have our own training division. We have a fantastic trainer, and we have continuous training programs delivered through classroom training as well as through blended through Moodle and other channels online. So we have, I think, which I sincerely believe, one of the best training programs in the country. And we try to replicate what we call today an Infomate University, where we have 8 different tracks where we aim to upskill our employees on some cutting edge finance developments. So these include RPA, machine learning and artificial intelligence, data science, Power BI, Excel, advanced Excel, communication skills. So the whole range, you can get exposure at Infomate. So it's one of the best places, I think, for a young person to work, to learn, to grow and build a career. And there are huge opportunities both for advancement within Infomate and also advancement within the wider JKH group. As I said, several of our alumni today hold key positions in different JKH subsidiaries.
So Jehan, how important has been the role of the team, the Infomate team, in your journey towards becoming the powerhouse that you are today?
The team is everything. I think we have been blessed to have a very loyal, very capable, very committed core group who were absolutely dedicated to building Infomate. Some of them have now moved on, they've retired, and today we've really built a fantastic core group which they've been with us for many years. As I said, we have some of the original 60 still with us. And we have an alumni group, where we keep in close touch. So we, as part of the team, we brought in different area of expertise. People have different strengths, different skill sets, and it's very important to listen to everyone, hear them out, incorporate ideas, get recommendations. Everyone has something positive to contribute, and harness this huge, capability and talent. And sometimes I think we can still do better in that, because we have such capable people with a lot to give. But you've got to create a platform. You've got to create the environment for them to be able to be confident to contribute and confident that they are being heard. So I think we have done that quite well, and each of them has contributed immensely. So today our head of operations, Ranga, head of third-party operations, Manjula, Kamal Raju heads quality as well as the JKH operations. They are veterans in this area. They have a lot of international experience, and they all bring a lot to the table. Right? So we have a management committee. Then below that we have we've recently started talent discussions with some of the top talent, where we meet with them regularly to hear them out, get their ideas, get their recommendations, suggestions. So just to reiterate, our team has been pivotal to all that we've achieved, and they've really given much, and I'm hugely grateful to the Infomate alumni, both past and present.
Jehan, as an outsider looking in, one of the things that really impressed me were some of the CSR endeavors that Infomate is engaged in. Some of them, I think, are the first of its kind in Sri Lanka, unless I'm mistaken. So what was the thinking behind this, Jehan? What was the thinking behind this out-of-the-box kind of CSR projects you've engaged in as a brand?
So I think keeping a ear to the ground, being open to opportunities and not being closed, and also having the internal drive and the passion to make a difference. I think those are some of the things that helped us do some of those projects. And we draw from our parent company, of course, John Keells Group, which had a John Keells Foundation, which is very closely engaged with multiple CSR initiatives. And in JKH, they've always believed in sustainable business. And there's a lot of research that shows that you can't have a spike of prosperity, right, if all around you is way below in terms of development. Right? You need the whole community to grow with you. And if you look at the Fortune 100 companies or Fortune 500 companies maybe 50 years ago, those who continue to survive and thrive are those who have been practitioners of responsible business, those who have been truly sustainable. So in JKH, they've always believed that sustainable business is where everyone benefits. And it benefits the company as well. So it's not just only altruistic projects or handouts, but it is sustainable business. So that philosophy also was something that underlined what we did. And if you look at our groundbreaking rural BPO initiative, right, that is a project that created rural employment. 90% of those are women. It enabled youth to work from their village so that family units are kept intact. Took work from the city through the internet to the villagers and enabled them to stay in their village and then earn a good income. And if you look at that, everyone benefited. The associates, they are benefited, we benefited from lower attrition, from lower costs. So it was a truly sustainable project. And if you see Mahavilachi, our first BPO, and indeed the first rural BPO in Sri Lanka, turns 15 this year, 15 years. So we were able to sustain it. Jaffna BPO, which is the youngest, will be turning 10. And Sinigama BPO Technologies is about 13 years. So we were able to sustain it over a decade and a half. And some of those associates have been employed 12, 13 years. Right? So that shows that it is sustainable. It's not just a one-off handout or a project. The other aspect is the realization that we as corporates, we are privileged, that we have been fortunate, and it's necessary to give back. And in doing so, we found that it really helped us as well. Another great example is we work with a children's charity, working with children who are disadvantaged or from very, very difficult circumstances, giving them career and life skills. And today I'm very proud to tell you that 3 of them have been recruited to Infomate, right? And they're working with us and their work is excellent. And we want to expand. So again, we see everyone benefits from this. We are working on employee health, mental health and physical health. The employees, today we are a people business, right? So it's not machines that do our work, it's people. So looking after our people, we'll look after our associates, our most valuable people, and in turn help the sustainability of the company. We are also working on environmental sustainability. We are measuring our carbon footprint. We want to be carbon neutral. So we are offsetting our carbon footprint with planting trees. Just our first projects, pilot projects, we planted over 1,000 trees. And this, we find that our staff love it, our clients love it, it helps the environment, our investors love it, right? So from every aspect, it is positive. Right? And that is something that we want to do much more of.
Understood.
So underlying all of this is the goal to make a difference. We want to make a difference to our community, to our staff, to our clients, and to the country.
Understood. So Jehan, you've been through this journey for quite a number of years now. What have been some of the biggest lessons that you have learned that you would like to pass forward to the next generation of business leaders, or even maybe for your younger self? What have been some of those key lessons?
So some of the key lessons is don't be afraid to start small. Right? We started Mahavilachi, the first rural BPO, with 2 associates. So something I often say, don't despise the day of small beginnings, because some of those things can take a life of its own and become immense. So don't be afraid to try it out small. Try things. Not everything will succeed, but you won't know until you try. So we've developed our own platforms like BPO-Mate. We tried our first supplier portal in the country. Huge challenges. We had to train hoteliers across the country in using this platform, but it worked and it became an immense success. We did it for one of our client projects. We embarked on ambitious things, for instance, in working with different language projects in different regions. Completely new areas. Now we are working outside finance and accounting. We are moving to things like customer support, data entry, image annotation, HR outsourcing. So we're moving into completely new areas, new regions. So don't be afraid to try things. You may occasionally find failure, but that's okay. You learn from that and you go forward. Continue to move forward. The other aspect is you must back yourself. You must believe in yourself. Right? You must have confidence. And one of the things that I perhaps would do differently, and like you said, what would you tell your younger self, is to have a bigger aspiration, to have a bigger ambition, to be willing to take a few more risks and think bigger.
Understood. All right. So we were, going through memory lane, understanding the origins of Infomate and how far you all have come, throughout this journey. Now let's look into the future a little bit. What can we expect from Infomate in the next 5 years, Jehan?
So we just opened this fantastic facility in Orion City, and the occasion is graced by our Deputy Chairman Jehan Perinpanayagam, and something that he shared, and in fact he sent a follow-up email to me this morning as well, that Infomate has done really well, but he expects, and I share that expectation, that we can be much bigger, much bigger, and all of that what we've achieved is, I think, a very small picture of what our true reality could be. So we would like to be, currently we are about 400 people, we are having about maybe 200 external third-party seats, as we call it. We would like to increase that fivefold in the next 4 years. We want to be Sri Lanka's leading BPM services provider. We want to play a role in the national context, right? And we want to be a BPM of note in the global landscape, perhaps on some of the international rankings. That's where we would be. So we want to accelerate our growth. We want to probably take many more facilities. You'll also see us expand in other regions of Sri Lanka. Have officers not just in Colombo, but our own officers in different parts of the country. And we want to continue to innovate when it comes to technology, looking at incorporation of artificial intelligence, of machine learning, of robotic process automation into our service delivery. We want to go up the value chain and offer more value-added services to our clients. And we want to continue to make a difference.
So like Jehan said, we are sitting in a fantastic new office in Orion City. So Jehan, from what I'm hearing from you, you're going to grow from a 400 strong workforce to something even larger, which means there'll be plenty of opportunities for the up and coming accounting and finance professionals. So could we end this episode with a final message from you towards the youngsters who are listening to this on what are some of these opportunities available in Infomate and why they should join Infomate, as it'll be a life changer for their careers as well?
Oh, absolutely. I think you just need to look back over our 18 years and look back at some of the careers that we've launched. A lot of young professionals have joined Infomate, very little experience, and today I see them around the world, finance controller, finance director, head of SAP, support, holding key positions. And if you talk to some of them post their story on LinkedIn. If you go back and read some of those testimonials on our website, you'll see what a difference the few years at Infomate has made in their lives and in their careers. And for me, as someone who's been in this journey 18 years, it's very proud and very gratifying to read some of those statements. There's nothing more proud to see a young person coming up and saying, how much I benefited from my time at Infomate, and seeing them really scale the heights in their careers. So we have many open positions. We are doing projects. We've got some exciting new projects on world-class platforms like SAP. So it's a great place where you can learn world-class systems like SAP, Oracle, where you can get involved serving big global brand names, working for different clients. You can move between projects after some time. You can benefit from all that we have to offer in terms of training, soft skills, technical. You can get involved in the wider John Keells Group activities, which includes CSR, training, group activities, sporting activities. You can climb the ladder in Infomate. You can join other John Keells subsidiaries like Ceylon Cold Stores, Cinnamon Grand, and so many others. In fact, one of our finance apprentices, for her project, she chose to do her project in the Maldivian hotels. Right? We have 4 hotels in the Maldives. And we wrote to the finance controller. They were happy to welcome her. So she visited all our 4 resorts, did some great projects, and also had a great time. I think she went diving and snorkeling, and so there's a sort of unique, one in a lifetime sort of opportunities. We've had projects. Some of our staff go to Brisbane, go to UK, migrate activities from there. So I think we have a lot to offer. Do please have eye on the Infomate website and for our adverts on Top Jobs and on LinkedIn and Facebook. Follow us on Facebook. You'll get a glimpse of what life is at Infomate. We are on Instagram, and I think we're just getting onto TikTok as well. So you can follow us, look out for opportunities, and we'll be delighted to welcome you into our team.
Sounds exciting, Jehan. I just wish I was a few years younger so I can, apply to Infomate myself. So like Jehan said, one thing I would like to add to that is subscribe to our YouTube channel, because on top of these episodes that you saw now, which are part of the series of Infomate podcast episodes, there'll be more episodes coming our way soon. So make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell icon as you get real-time notifications as we publish more content going forward. So that, ladies and gentlemen, was the CEO of Infomate, Jehan Perinpanayagam, joining us on the first 2 episodes of the Infomate podcast. We'll be joining you shortly with more such episodes going forward. Stay tuned.